It was a beautiful night in Washington, D.C. The sky was its usual blue-purple scheme, and the stars that were twinkling and shining. Mafra, Wonder Woman's wife, was in the backseat of the Rodan Red's Corolla Camry passed out. Rodan, Wonder Woman and Mafra's best friend, had just kidnapped Mafra and is now needing her to help him. The red Corolla Camry just arrived at the parking lot of the Landmark Mall. After Rodan parked the car, he then turned towards the back seat. "Hey, Mafra, get up," he said, hoping that the tired female, half-human moth hybrid would respond. Mafra began to wake up and rub her eyes. She was unfamiliar and unaware of where she was and who she was with. After Mafra rubbed the sleep from her eyes, she saw that she was in the back of her friend Rodan's car. "Rodan, you son of a snake," she began to say, before being interrupted by him. "Fire demon pterodactyl," Rodan corrected her. Mafra scoffed. "Whatever. You kidnapped me from my home with Diana. Do you know that?" She, as her heart was pounding really loud, she felt that she was going to have a severe panic attack. "To help me find with something," Rodan said, in explanation as he was now beginning to help her get out of the car. Mafra began to piece the situation together. "Let me get this straight. You want me to help you find something while we're in the Landmark Mall?" she said, looking at him with interrogating look on her face. "Yeah, that's right, Mafra," Rodan said, nodding his head yes, also while wondering if her heart had calmed down from before. Mafra sighed. "All right, I'll help you, but what makes you sure that you'll find it here in the mall?" she asked, now going into the mall. "I did some research before you getting here. According to my calculations, a bank heist is supposed to go down here tomorrow, and they're wanting to steal this," Rodan said in explanation, as he was now showing her a picture of Dreamstone. Mafra was confused. "What is that thing?" she asked, curiously wanting to know. "It's called a Dreamstone, Mafra. It helps grant wishes," Rodan said, talking about an ancient artifact as they were now walking towards the mall bank. "Why are they wanting to steal it?" Mafra asked, concerned as she looked at him, with concern in her eyes. "It's a very powerful artifact, Mafra. We cannot let it fall into the power of evil," Rodan said, talking like he was a superhero. Mafra smiled. "We are strong, we are brave, and the world we will save. We are superheroes," she said, while singing her superheroes versus supervillains song. Along with that she was watching cartoons with her love, Diana. Rodan smiled. "That's the spirit, Mafra. Now let's get to that Dreamstone," he said, as he now began to hurriedly run to the bank. "To the rescue," Mafra said, as she was running alongside him. Meanwhile, on top of the building, Wonder Woman was standing, watching from the glass window as she saw her life, Mafra, with her best friend Rodan, as they were going to the bank. She had to do something to save her wife Mafra, and fast, before fate will happen upon her. When they got to the bank, Mafra was feeling a bit uneasy. Rodan, who was completely busy concentrating on where this legendary Dreamstone could be, he began to look this over to see his best friend Mafra feeling uneasy. He immediately went over to her. "Mafra, are you alright?" Rodan asked, concerned. Meanwhile, Wonder Woman had just broken through the huge glass window as an entryway as she got down to the ground, and she looked around. Oh, where has my larva have gone? Oh, where she can be? With her hair so short and her stingers so long, oh, where can she be? She said to herself in a singing-songy voice as she was beginning to look for her wife Mafra. Back in the bank, Mafra looked at him, clutching onto her head, trying to make the dizziness go away. "Huh? What did you say to me?" she said, her dementa taking over. Rodan was now really concerned. "Mafra, I'm so sorry. This has been all my fault. I shouldn't have left you in the car for so long. Please forgive me," he said as a few tears began to escape from his eyes, dripping down to his cheeks. Mafra looked at him, very confused. "What does that mean when he said he left me out in the car for so long? I don't remember being in the car for that long. I only remember being in the car for 15 minutes. I think it's his fault. He must have fried his brain harder than I thought, she said to herself, as she silently continued looking at him. Wonder Woman was now near the entrance of the bank when she peeked her head around the corner and saw her wife Mothra with the kidnapping vermin of Pterodactyl. I knew it! I freaking knew it! He's up to something. Definitely up to something. I knew that I shouldn't doubt my suspicion when it comes to Rodan doing something. Now I have to find a way to save my little larva from him. And fast, she said to herself, and she was now silently being observant. Rodan, it's okay. It's okay, I forgive you, Mothra said, looking at him with sincerity in her eyes. Rodan sniffled and smiled, drying away the tears. After he had dried his tears, he looked back at her. So, Mothra, why are you feeling so uneasy a while ago? Rodan asked, referring back to a while ago. The half-human, half-moth hybrid was really feeling uneasy. Mothra began to look around. The reason why I felt uneasy is because I think we were being watched, she said, now getting back on track on fighting the Dreamstone. No kidding, my little larva. No kidding. I'm onto you and your friend, my little larva, Wonder Woman said to herself as she continued silently observing the two. After a few minutes of looking around for that Dreamstone, they finally found it. The stone was in a crate behind the teller counter. The crate was closed. Rodan then looked at Mothra with concern in his eyes. We're completely screwed, he said, now looking really concerned. Rodan was scared that they had came all this way for nothing. Mothra then remembered she had powers. Not quite, Rodan, she said, trying to cheer him up. Rodan then looked at her, with confusion in his brows were raised, and questioned. What do you mean not quite, Mothra? There's something that will get that crate open, he said, now starting to panic. Rodan, we have powers, remember? You have the fire, I have the light, we both have weapons. You have break your talons, and I have my stinger, Mothra said, in hopes that Rodan will remain cheerful and not lose hope. Wonder Woman then began to sneak in. She couldn't take something outside of the bank any longer. While Rodan and Mothra were figuring out ways to crack the crate open, Wonder Woman got closer and closer to them. She began to crouch down on her knees and shone her head around the corner, hoping that her little larva, her wife Mothra, would see her. As Rodan and Mothra were discussing the ways to get the crate open, Mothra's eyes averted and saw Wonder Woman looking back her. Wonder Woman motioned for her to come near her. Rodan saw that Mothra's eyes were looking at something else. Mothra, he said, trying to get her attention. He was now shaking her. Wonder Woman rolled her eyes when she saw Rodan. Mothra sighed and turned her attention back to him. What is it, Rodan? She said, looking at him. Rodan looked around the corner, but couldn't find whoever was looking at them. After he looked, he then turned towards Mothra again. Do you have any idea of how we're supposed to open the grates? Rodan asked, his eyebrows raised in question. Mothra nodded her head yes, and then began using her turquoise blue luminescent blast. Wonder Woman looked up and saw the glowing turquoise blue luminescent light glow. She then loved how her wife Mothra was always glowing. After a few minutes later, the turquoise blue luminescent blast had lifted and Mothra was panting. Rodan looked at her confused. Are you okay, Mothra? He said, wondering if she was okay. Mothra looked at him and she was now catching her breath. Yeah, I'm fine, Rodan. I just had to catch my breath, she said, reassuringly as they were now looking at the open crate. They looked and saw the Dreamstone. Mothra's eyes sparkled and shined, while Rodan's eyes were glowing red. Wonder Woman peeked her head through the corner and saw the two, lost in the gaze of the Dreamstone. She then got up and stood behind the two. All right, you two, gazing time's over, Wonder Woman said. Mothra and Rodan were now looking up from getting the Dreamstone out of the crate, and both of them were now looking at her. Rodan had a mischievous smile on his face. Hello, Wonder Woman, he said, now trying to keep this superheroine distracted while Mothra was trying to leave with the Dreamstone. Mothra began to quietly sneak out. Rodan, what are you and my little larva up to? Wonder Woman asked, while Mothra was sneaking out of the bank with the Dreamstone in hands. Rodan chuckled. Why should I tell you? He said. Mothra now turning around to look at them. Mothra smiled. Rodan winked at her, but Wonder Woman was now beginning to notice the situation. Wonder Woman saw Mothra was standing outside the bank with the Dreamstone. She then looked back at Rodan with suspicion and sternness. Rodan, why does my little larva have the Dreamstone? What are you and her planning? Wonder Woman asked, really wanting to know. As I said before, why should I tell you? Rodan said, before motioning for Mothra to start running. Wonder Woman was now getting really frustrated, especially since her best friend Rodan couldn't tell what him and her little larva wife was up to. When she got out of the lasso of truth behind her belt, Rodan saw it. What are you? What are you planning to do with that rope, Wonder Woman? He said, now really concerned about Wonder Woman, what she was up to. Wonder Woman chuckled. Quoting from a friend, why should I tell you, she said, as she now targeted the lasso of truth at him. Rodan's eyes went wide as he saw the lasso of truth coming for him. The lasso of truth was now wrapping itself around his wrist, and just after wrapped around Rodan's wrist, Wonder Woman now had a hold of him. The lasso of Hestia compels you to reveal the truth. So what are you and my little larva up to? Wonder Woman asked as the lasso of truth was glowing around Rodan's wrist. Rodan now began to get overwhelmed. All right, you caught me. I was doing this for Mothra, he said. He was now revealing what he and Mothra were up to. Wonder Woman was intrigued by that, but she needed to know more. Tell me more, Rodan. What does my little larva want with the Dreamstone? That stone was dangerous before, she said, her concern now beginning to rise. Wonder Woman remembers the encounter with the Dreamstone back in 1984. She remembers how it granted her wish, but took her powers away because Barbara and Minerva wanted to be strong like her. Now Wonder Woman needed to save her wife Mothra from the same fate that she was going to be through if she didn't stop her. Mothra had heard about the stone and was really intrigued by how it could grant wishes too. One day while working with Diana, her and I came up with a plan with the Dreamstone where we are now, Rodan said, in explanation as Wonder Woman saw that Mothra was gone. Wonder Woman looked at Rodan with concern in her eyes. Did you ever wonder what Mothra is wanting to wish for, Rodan? She asked with concern as she was just about to take off and leave her wife Mothra. Rodan began to think. From what I can remember, she said something about wanting to be married to you and have kids, he said, remembering what Mothra told him. Wonder Woman smiled. Thank you, Rodan. You can go home now. I have to find Mothra, she said, now beginning to leave the bank and heading to where Mothra was, at the front entrance of the mall. But before she could get there was a blind light. Mothra's wish was beginning to come true. Well, that was the first chapters of Wonder Woman, Return of the Dreamstone, written by SorceressMagic, also known as Stardust Studios. What are my thoughts on this story? Well, this was actually quite of an interesting story. I personally really like how this is going so far. I'm really liking the concept of it. It's a pretty good story. I really have to say, SorceressMagic, you did a pretty good job with this story. So there's definitely a pretty good plot line going for it, and I'm really starting to see what this story is going to be about. Although it's only got, a little bit of, just a little bit of an idea as to what's going on. I personally really thought it was really nice. This is honestly a pretty good story. I personally like it so far. I'm really hoping this story is going to be good. Now, like I said, I will be giving my final rating of this story at the end. So, there is definitely that. So, what do I personally like about this? Well, for one, the story actually has a pretty good startup, and I personally like the plot line of it so far. I personally really think it's a good story, and I really do hope that the story is just as good as the other ones that I've read. But however, I'm going to have to wait and see what happens next, because this story is honestly looks like it's going to be a good one. And I personally cannot wait to hear the rest of it and see the rest of it once that story comes out, more of it. Now, I'm going to be saving the final rating at the end of this story, so there's definitely going to be that. But until then, I'm going to sit here and just wrap this up. Now, like I'm always going to say, this is just simply my own personal opinion. If you disagree with me, that's perfectly fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these stories. This is just simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story, we will do that late at the end of this story. Like, once more chapters come out, I will review it at the end. So, yeah, there's definitely that. Okay, so that is pretty much just all I have to say. But anyways, what did you guys personally think of this pasta? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better. Feel free to let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm the Lion Queen. I want to thank you so much for watching today's video. If you're new to my channel, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. Ring the bell for notifications to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, if you want to go follow my DeviantArt, link to my DeviantArt will be in the About page section. If you guys also want to go follow me on Twitter, link to my Twitter account will also be in the About page section, so you guys can go check that out if you like. Also, I want you guys to go ahead and subscribe to my backup channel known as Miss Dark Shigo, as linked to that will also be in the About page section, so you guys can go and check that out if you want. So I guess with that being said, and that being the case, yeah. Anyways, if there's anything that I am missing, please let me know what it is in the comments below, and I personally would like to see what you guys think. So, anyways, I'm gonna head out now, so roll the outro because I'm out.